First contact and invasion. The morning sky over Geneva burned copper and gold as Commander Maya Santos stood on the roof of the United Earth Defense Force headquarters. At 42, with 20 years of military service behind her, she'd seen conflict zones across the planet, but nothing had prepared her for this day. 3 days ago, long-range sensors had detected the approaching fleet, massive vessels decelerating as they entered the solar system. "Commander, they're broadcasting again." Lieutenant Reeves appeared at her side, tablet in hand. Maya nodded, her dark eyes fixed on the horizon, where the first of the alien ships would soon be visible. Same message. "Yes, Mom. Submit or be eradicated." The Xorians, as they called themselves, had made their intentions clear from the first transmission. A species that had conquered 1,000 worlds across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, they viewed Earth as simply another acquisition. Their demand was simple: immediate surrender and integration into the Xorian dominion, or extinction. "They expect us to just roll over," Maya said, taking the tablet and studying the translation of the alien message. "They have no idea who they're dealing with." Within hours, the Xorian fleet became visible from Earth. 12 massive vessels suspended in low orbit, their hulls gleaming with an iridescent blue-green material unlike any metal humans had engineered. Each ship stretched nearly 2 kilometers in length, dwarfing the International Space Station and humanity's modest orbital defenses. The first attack came without warning. Precision energy weapons lanced down from orbit, targeting military installations across the globe. Missile silos, naval bases, airfields, all reduced to slag in minutes. Earth's retaliatory strike. Every nuclear missile in the arsenal failed to penetrate the Xorian shields. By sunset, 80% of Earth's conventional military capacity lay in ruins. The remaining forces retreated to hardened underground facilities or dispersed into civilian areas. The United Nations Security Council convened in an emergency bunker beneath the Swiss Alps. "We've lost nearly everything," General Harrison reported, his holographic image flickering as he spoke from what remained of the Pentagon. "Our most advanced weapons can't penetrate their shields." "Then we need new weapons," Maya replied. She'd been appointed as tactical coordinator for the global resistance, a position that felt more symbolic than practical given the overwhelming technological gap they faced. "What do we know about their technology?" Dr. Elena Volkov, head of the hastily assembled Cenotech analysis team, stepped forward. The Russian physicist had been studying the debris from a damaged Xorian scout craft that had crashed in the Ural Mountains. "Their shield technology operates on principles we theorized but never implemented," she explained, displaying molecular diagrams on the central screen. "It uses quantum field manipulation to create a phase barrier. But here's what's interesting. Their shield generators require enormous energy, which means they can't maintain them continuously. There's a 3-second recharge window after each major deflection." Maya leaned forward. "So if we hit them with something substantial, then immediately follow with a second strike, we might breach their defenses," Elena finished. "But we'd need precise timing and coordination." Within 48 hours, the remaining human military forces had implemented what came to be known as the Double Tap Protocol. Fighter jets, operating from hidden mountain airfields, would launch conventional missiles at Xorian landing craft, then immediately follow with artillery barrages timed to strike during the shield recharge window. The first successful application of this tactic came when Xorian ground forces attempted to secure Beijing. Chinese resistance fighters, coordinating with UEDF tactical officers, managed to bring down 3 Xorian troop carriers. The aliens lost nearly 200 soldiers, the first significant casualties they had suffered in the invasion. On the Xorian command vessel, Warlord Kel'Thraz studied the battlefield reports with mounting concern. The Supreme Commander of the Dominion's expansion fleet had overseen the conquest of 17 worlds, and none had offered resistance like these humans. "They're adapting," he told his second-in-command, Scientist General Ziv Era. They identify our shield cycling pattern in less than 2 planetary rotations. Ziv-Era's translucent skin rippled with what passed for amusement among the Xorians. They're still primitive, Warlord. They've destroyed a few landing craft, nothing more. Our hold on their major population centers strengthens by the hour. Don't underestimate them, Kelthraz warned. There's something different about these humans. The Centaurians surrendered after we destroyed their capital. The Protean Federation collapsed when we targeted their ruling class. But these humans, they keep fighting, even their civilians. In the ruined streets of Paris, London, and Tokyo, ordinary citizens had formed resistance cells. They had no military training, no advanced weapons, just courage, ingenuity, and a fierce determination to survive. Armed with improvised explosives and captured Saurian energy pistols, they harassed alien patrols and gathered intelligence for what remained of Earth's organized forces. By the end of the first week, the Xorians controlled all major cities, but faced a constant war of attrition. Their casualties mounted steadily, not enough to threaten the invasion, but far more than Kelthraz had anticipated. In the Colorado Mountains, Maya Santos established a global coordination center for the resistance. Using a network of redundant quantum-encrypted communications that the Xorians hadn't yet detected, she linked resistance cells worldwide. "We need to hit them harder," she told her advisors. "Dr. Volkov, what have you learned from the captured Saurian weapons?" Elena displayed schematics on the central holotaple. Their energy weapons operate on a crystalline oscillation principle. We've managed to reverse engineer the basic technology and are adapting it to our existing delivery systems. Dr. Quaim Osai, a Ghanaian materials scientist, stepped forward. "We've also analyzed the composition of their hull material. It's a silicon-based crystalline matrix that's nearly impervious to kinetic impacts, but has a surprising vulnerability to certain acoustic frequencies." Maya raised an eyebrow. "Sound. We can damage their ships with sound. Specific harmonic vibrations can induce a cascading failure in the molecular structure," Quaim explained. "It would require powerful, precisely calibrated sonic emitters, but it could potentially crack their hulls like glass." Within days, Earth's remaining manufacturing facilities, hidden in abandoned mines, underwater facilities, and remote wilderness areas, began producing what came to be known as Banshee devices. These sonic weapons couldn't be deployed against the Xorian ships in orbit, but they proved devastatingly effective against ground forces and landing craft. The first major human victory came in the ruins of Sydney. Xorian forces had established a primary command center in the former Opera House, an irony not lost on the Australian resistance. Under cover of night, they positioned Banshee devices around the perimeter. When activated, the weapons emitted a sound beyond human hearing, but which shattered Saurian armor and ruptured their communication systems. The resulting confusion allowed human forces to overrun the position, capturing valuable technology and intelligence. Similar victories followed in Mumbai, Rio de Janeiro, and Cairo. Humans began reclaiming territory, slowly pushing back against the alien occupation. Aboard the Xorian command ship, Warlord Kelthraz faced an uncomfortable reality. "We've lost 12% of our ground forces," he reported to the Dominion Council via quantum transmission. "The humans are reverse engineering our technology at an alarming rate." "This is unprecedented," responded High Commander Vexcor, his image flickering across 20 light-years of space. "No species at their technological level has ever offered such resistance." "They're extraordinarily adaptable," Kelthraz explained. "Each time we deploy a new tactic, they develop a countermeasure within days. Their scientists work alongside their warriors, iterating constantly." "The Dominion does not retreat," Vexcor reminded him coldly. "Escalate the conflict, target their population centers, break their will to resist." Kelthraz hesitated. "With respect, High Commander, I fear such an approach may only strengthen their resolve. These humans don't surrender when threatened. They become more dangerous." But the order stood. The next day, Thorian vessels positioned themselves over Earth's most populous cities and began a systematic bombardment. Millions died in the first hours. Yet instead of breaking human resistance, the attack galvanized it. In her mountain command center, Commander Santos received the casualty reports with grim resolve. "They've just made their biggest mistake," she told her staff. "Now we stop holding back." Resistance and triumph. Flames consumed what remained of Shanghai as Saurian energy weapons continued their bombardment from orbit. Similar scenes played out across the globe: Delhi, Mexico City, Lagos, anywhere humans gathered in numbers. The Saurians had escalated to full-scale genocide, believing it would finally break humanity's will to resist. They were wrong. Deep beneath the ruined cities, in hardened bunkers and repurposed subway tunnels, humanity's greatest minds worked feverishly. For 3 weeks, they had studied captured Saurian technology, understanding its principles, identifying its weaknesses. Now, with billions dead and Earth's surface becoming increasingly uninhabitable, they prepared their counterattack. Commander Maya Santos stood before the Emergency Council of World Leaders, those who had survived the initial invasion and subsequent bombardment. Her uniform was tattered, her face gaunt from weeks of minimal sleep, but her eyes burned with determination. "Operation Prometheus is ready," she announced. "Dr. Volkov, explain what we've developed." Elena Volkov stepped forward, displaying schematics on the central holographic projector. "Using reverse-engineered Saurian technology combined with our own innovations, we've created a 3-phase attack system." She highlighted different components of the plans. Phase 1. EMP devices specifically calibrated to the frequency of Saurian shield generators. They won't permanently disable their systems, but they'll create a 30-second window of vulnerability. Phase 2, continued Dr. Osi, delivery of what we're calling Nova weapons. These devices use the Saurians' own crystalline technology against them, creating a resonance cascade that should rupture their hull integrity. And Phase 3, Maya finished, boarding parties. We've modified our remaining spacecraft and equipped special forces with adapted Saurian armor and weapons. Once their ships are damaged, we take them. President Chen of the Pan-Asian Alliance looked skeptical. "We're talking about attacking warships in orbit with technology we barely understand. This is beyond desperate." "Desperate is exactly what we need to be," Maya replied. "The Saurians expect us to be cowering, not planning an orbital assault. Surprise is our greatest weapon now." For years, humanity had dreamed of unity, of setting aside national differences to work toward common goals. Ironically, it took an alien invasion to finally make that dream reality. Former enemies pooled resources and knowledge. Political ideologies that had seemed irreconcilable were set aside. Humanity stood together, not just for survival, but for victory. The attack began at dawn. From hidden launch facilities across the globe, humanity's remaining aerospace craft took flight. Everything from military jets retrofitted with Saurian technology to civilian planes carrying hastily mounted weapons. The Saurians detected the approaching aircraft, but dismissed them as a futile last stand. That dismissal lasted until the first EMP devices detonated. Specifically calibrated to the frequency of Saurian shield generators, they created brief but critical windows of vulnerability. Through these windows came the Nova weapons, devices that used the Saurians' own crystalline technology against them. Aboard the Saurian command ship, alarms blared as systems failed across multiple vessels. Warlord Kelthraz watched in disbelief as 3 of his ships reported critical hull breaches simultaneously. "Impossible," he muttered. "They couldn't have developed countermeasures this sophisticated so quickly." "Warlord," his tactical officer called out. "Human craft are approaching the damaged vessels. They appear to be boarding parties." Boarding actions were brutally efficient. Human special forces, wearing adapted Saurian armor and wielding captured energy weapons, fought their way through the alien vessels. Their objective wasn't conquest, but acquisition. They targeted the ship's central control systems, weapons arrays, and most importantly, their propulsion technology. On Earth's surface, resistance fighters launched coordinated attacks against Saurian ground forces. The aliens, suddenly cut off from orbital support as their communication systems were jammed using their own technology, found themselves isolated and vulnerable. Humans swarmed their positions, overwhelming them with numbers and ferocity that belied their technological disadvantage. By midday, humans had captured 2 Saurian vessels, intact and critically damaged 4 others. The remaining ships retreated to higher orbit, beyond the range of the EMP devices. In his command center, Warlord Kel-Thraz faced the unthinkable: defeat at the hands of a supposedly primitive species. How? He demanded of Scientist General Ziv Era. How have they done this? I've been analyzing their adaptation patterns, Ziv Era replied, a new respect in her voice. These humans possess an almost unique combination of traits. They're simultaneously highly individualistic and capable of extraordinary cooperation. When threatened, instead of fragmenting as most species do, they unify. Their scientific method encourages challenging established ideas rather than accepting them. And most concerning of all, they think differently under pressure. It accelerates their innovation rather than impeding it. Kel-Thraz considered this. You're suggesting we cannot defeat them conventionally. I'm suggesting we may have made a critical error in attacking them at all, Ziv Era replied. They've now acquired our technology, and if these adaptation patterns continue, they may soon surpass our capabilities entirely. The decision Kel-Thraz faced was unprecedented in Saurian history: withdrawal from a conquest. The Dominion had never retreated, never acknowledged defeat. Yet the alternative seemed increasingly to be the complete destruction of the invasion fleet. As he deliberated, humans made the decision for him. The 2 captured Saurian vessels, now under human control, positioned themselves to attack the command ship. From their weapons arrays came not energy beams, but a tight beam transmission. On the command deck, Kel-Thraz received the message personally. On his view screen appeared Commander Maya Santos, still wearing her tattered uniform, but now standing on the bridge of a Saurian warship. Warlord Kel-Thraz, she began, you came to our world believing us primitive and easily conquered. That assumption has cost you half your fleet and thousands of your people. We now control enough of your technology to ensure the destruction of your remaining forces. She paused, her expression hardening. But unlike you, we don't seek genocide. We offer terms: immediate withdrawal from our solar system, return of all human captives, and a formal recognition of Earth space as sovereign and inviolable territory. You have 1 hour to comply. Kel-Thraz stared at the human commander, recognizing in her eyes something he'd seen in few species across the galaxy: not just determination or courage, but a profound adaptability that bordered on the terrifying. These humans had gone from basic spaceflight to commanding Saurian warships in less than a month. And if we refuse, he asked, then we'll show you what humanity does to existential threats, Maya replied simply, terminating the transmission. The Saurian War Council was brief and contentious. Some advocated fighting to the last ship, as Dominion doctrine demanded. Others, including Ziv Era, argued that the humans represented a new type of species, one that the standard conquest protocols had never accounted for. In the end, pragmatism prevailed. The remaining Saurian vessels gathered their surviving ground forces and retreated beyond the orbit of Mars. As they prepared for the long journey back to Dominion space, Kel-Thraz recorded his final report. The species designated human represents an unprecedented anomaly, he stated for the Dominion archives. Their technological development under pressure defies all established models. Their social cohesion in crisis contradicts their political fragmentation in peace. Most significantly, they appear to possess no concept of inevitable defeat, even when faced with overwhelmingly superior forces. He paused, adding a personal observation. I recommend in the strongest possible terms that the Dominion classify Earth as a prohibited zone and humans as a Level 1 threat species. They do not conquer easily, and I fear what they may become now that we have given them access to our technology. The Dominion has survived for 10,000 cycles by recognizing when retreat serves expansion better than persistence. This is such a moment. 3 months after the Xorian retreat, humanity began its transformation. The captured alien vessels yielded secrets that accelerated technological development by centuries. Unified by the invasion, Earth's nations maintained their cooperation, forming the Terran Confederation with a mandate to strengthen defenses and expand into the solar system. Commander Maya Santos, now Admiral and head of the newly established Stellar Defense Force, stood on the observation deck of humanity's first domestically produced starship, the TSS Phoenix. Beside her, Dr. Elena Volkov and Dr. Quaim Osei admired the vessel they had helped design, incorporating both Xorian technology and uniquely human innovations. The Xorians thought they were bringing our extinction, Maya said, watching Earth recede as the Phoenix began its maiden voyage to Mars. Instead, they launched us to the stars. They made a fundamental error, Elena observed. They judged us by our technology, not by our potential. A common mistake, Quaim added with a smile. Underestimating humanity has always been a dangerous proposition. As the Phoenix accelerated toward Mars, carrying the vanguard of humanity's expansion into the solar system, a quantum communication pulse traveled in the opposite direction, racing outward to distant stars. It contained a simple message, broadcast on frequencies the Terran Confederation knew the Xorian Dominion monitored. We remember, we learn, we advance. Challenge humanity at your peril. In the vast halls of the Dominion Central Authority, that message would cause considerable alarm. But on Earth and its newly established colonies, it represented something else, a promise that humanity's greatest strength had always been its response to adversity, and a reminder that challenging humanity was the last mistake any species should make.